Support for Iowa Catholic Radio and Making It Personal is provided by Sarah Vocations Ministry. Learn more at joinserra.org.
Making It Personal with Bishop William Joensen on Iowa Catholic Radio and iowacatholicradio.com.
Welcome to Making It Personal with Bishop Joensen. I'm Jean Till, and on today's show, we're visiting with Barb Chicoine and Laurie Riebe. Barb is the president of the St. Theresa, St. Vincent de Paul Conference, and Laurie is the conference coordinator for St. Vincent de Paul in Central Iowa.
So here we are on Saturday the 3rd, and
already
throats being blessed, I imagine, at Saturday morning masses, and maybe even at the weekend liturgies for people, honoring St. Blaise and his intercession for all those diseases of the throat and every other illness, protecting God's protection, invoking God's protection. So good to be here. I'll be joining this morning with the Seven Sisters group as a special apostolate of women who choose to devote an hour a week praying before the Blessed Sacrament, offering the rosary or other prayers for priests, for their spiritual flourishing and protection, as well as bishops even. So that's a great source of grace to know that throughout the week, holy women are lifting up our clergy, and so grateful for them. But just a chance to be together face-to-face, share a little breakfast. Then later in the morning, I'll be with women religious and our male religious Spiritan community from Nigeria. Typically, yesterday would have been the day, the Feast of the Presentation, or devoted to religious, the renewal of their vows. But practically, so we'll gather this morning and at St. Ambrose to have that opportunity. So always a lively, diverse, and a fun group to be with, but how we are inspired by them and their vocations. Looking to move from that to tomorrow at St. Augustine's for confirmation. We have the last wave of confirmations before Lent. And so it's always a chance to go. We kind of go silent on the confirmation, waiting for the graces of the Spirit coming to us and the resurrected Christ. And so the following Saturday, St. Peter's in Council Bluffs has such a large cohort, even though as a fairly moderate-sized parish, we'll have 40. So for that space, we'll have 2 confirmation liturgies. So always looking forward. They're always really on top of it, and they pose some very penetrating questions. So I better bring my A game because Father Codis is going to have them primed to lay it on me here. So and then back. In the interim, I'll be at the National Catholic Bioethics Center's Bishops' Bioethics Conference in Dallas. This is something they do every couple of years, kind of to bring us up to speed on developments, bringing the Catholics' moral teaching and wisdom to bear on the pastoral things, surrendering, medical, moral, and all things there. Always a great group. Actually be appearing as part of a panel presentation to discuss things there as well. So, I think with my brother bishops, we'll see, get our signals together and share some of our own pastoral experiences in our diocese, wading into some of the thorny things that confront us there. So, always good renewal for that, and prior to Lent, so marvelous. We're thinking about St. Vincent de Paul and our guests coming up with Barb Chicoine and Laurie Riebe, but I'm just moved again, the great spirituality of the one who, in the famous movie, Monsieur Vincent, maybe the poor will forgive us for the bread that we give them. The sense that God has endowed us, but who we are, and this one who himself was convicted at a certain moment of his life, that he was a child of privilege, but his own experiences then being brought forward in a way that he himself, and so in a radical way, his view of the church, and seeing, as with our present Pope, Pope Francis, the centrality of the poor in the life of the church, for they are the privileged mediators of salvation. Although poor people appear disfigured by their deprivation, homelessness, hunger, anxiety, ignorance, judgment, or simply the condescension of others, St. Vincent said that the situation is entirely different. We regard them with the eyes of faith, and his phrase, turning the medal over, to see that other side, where recognizing their dignity as children of God, loved by God, and living images of the life and death of Jesus. And so Vincent knew himself to be a poor man, but that opened him to the faces of poverty and humility, and to dying in Christ. This mystery of the poor led him along the road of detachment and humility and helped him to see with the eyes of faith. So inspiring that he did that. And then to preach the good news of salvation to poor people, but to do so in the way that maybe we're not leading with that word of faith, but the gestures and the works of mercy and the many ways in which we promote human solidarity. To do so, then yes, to be able to announce Jesus to them so that we evangelize the poor, but in the process are ourselves evangelized. So looking forward to the conversation.
Well, we're going to take a quick break, and when we return, we'll be visiting with Barb Chicoine and Laurie Riebe. Barb is the president for the St. Theresa, St. Vincent de Paul Conference, and Laurie is the conference coordinator for St. Vincent de Paul in Central Iowa. You're listening to Making It Personal with Bishop Joensen on Iowa Catholic Radio and the Spirit Catholic Radio Network.
From Saylorville to Stewart and everywhere at iowacatholicradio.com or the Iowa Catholic Radio app. Listener-supported Iowa Catholic Radio, connecting listeners to Christ.
Welcome back to Making It Personal with Bishop Joensen. On today's show, we're visiting with Barb Chicoine and Laurie Riebe. Barb is the president for the St. Vincent de Paul Conference, and Laurie is the conference coordinator for St. Vincent de Paul in Central Iowa.
Great to have both of you ladies and dynamic women, and we're going to learn a little bit more about your stories and everything else, but very much already, Laurie, we kind of have a connection here as well, right?
We do. We sure do.
Maybe, as love burst forth in your family. And, so I was fortunate to preside at the wedding of your son and his bride and that, yeah. So.
Yeah, it was a beautiful ceremony, a beautiful location in Dubuque.
Yeah, so, and we were talking as we prepared to come on air, we think about the St. Vincent de Paul Society and the conferences that are there and the footprint in Iowa, the Dubuque Archdiocese. But this is a landmark year in the Diocese of Des Moines, right? The centenary year for St. Vincent de Paul. Started here in Des Moines in 1924. So this year we have a big celebration planned for our 100-year anniversary. Oh, is there a party? I'm going to. There's going to be a party, and you are invited, I'm sure. Well, multiple reasons here. Our centenary year of Catholic Charities, 2023, 24. And so, the establishment of faith, but the outreach that's present there, and all in the spirit of St. Vincent de Paul, but also Frederick Ozanam, who was kind of the founder in the modern way in the 19th century, along with Sister Rosalie of that. So, anything about Ozanam you want to share? I know you do some formation for people. I do. Frederick Ozanam was just an amazing man. He was so learned. He was a lawyer. He started many organizations, but he was just focused on serving the poor in his community. And Sister Rosalie, one of the Daughters of Charity, who was the first non-cloistered sisters, she inspired him and helped him and taught him how to work with the poor personally, face-to-face in their home. And that's what we carry on today. So a whole style of engagement and that. And, yes. And the Daughters of Charity, the Missionaries of Charity. So, but Barb, for you, that history was not something that was in your life, but your own personal story where suddenly the engagement and the hearing of, and the human contact and the support that you receive. Can you just share a little bit that you've shared some of these reflections before, but how did you first come to hear of St. Vincent de Paul?
Sure. I was 27 years old when I first heard of St. Vincent de Paul back in 1989. I was a divorced single mom of 4 young children, and a friend of mine told me about a toy drive that they had at St. Vincent de Paul at Christmas time, and I didn't have money to buy my kids a Christmas present, so I took my kids up to the 6th Avenue location, and they each got to pick out a toy. And I just remember feeling so grateful at the time, but also I felt shame because I couldn't afford to buy my own kids a Christmas present. But everybody there was so friendly, and there was just no judgment. I remember that. And
so that kind of melted any kind of...
It did. It just made me feel comfortable. Mm-hmm. And then a couple months later, I needed to move because the house I was renting was sold. And I was so scared. I was a mom on state assistance, and I didn't know if I could find a place to live that I could afford. But through God's grace, someone from our church had a place for me to rent. But the house didn't have a washer or a dryer or a refrigerator. And, of course, I didn't have the money to buy those things. And
they're kind of needed.
Yes. And so, once again, my friend told me St. Vincent de Paul has appliances for people in need. So I went down to the 6th Avenue location again, and they had me fill out some forms and told me that they had a washer available and a refrigerator available. And I thought, well, I can get by with that. And
did you feel like it was kind of a needs test, that they were scrutinizing you or interrogating you, or was it really more kind of an open-ended invitation?
No, I did not feel that way at all. I had felt that way with other things, like with state assistance. But at St. Vincent de Paul, I did not feel that way at all. And they even delivered the washer and the refrigerator to my home for free. And from that moment on, I kind of felt like St. Vincent de Paul had a special place in my heart. But, you know, I just went on with life at the time. And
well, that was your vocation.
Because you have 4 kids.
Yeah. My friend who helped me through all that, she told me something that stuck with me, though. She said, I asked her if I could pay her back somehow for all the things, because she helped my kids have a great Christmas that year. And she said, I don't want you to pay me back. I just want you to pay it forward someday when you're able. So then my life was blessed. Over the years, I was able to go to school, get a job. I married a wonderful man. We raised our kids. And when...
Instant dad to 4 children.
Yes, he was. Yeah. But in 2015, I wanted to get more involved in my parish. And there was a stewardship fair at the parish. And there was a table.
And this is St. Teresa's?
Yes. Sorry, St. Teresa's is where we belong. There was a stewardship fair, and there was a table that was for St. Vincent de Paul. And it immediately took me back to 1989. When
I know them. I know that place, right?
when I got that help, and I knew that God was calling me to volunteer with St. Vincent de Paul. So I joined the conference at St. Teresa's, and we've been growing and expanding ever since.
Okay, so it's not the Social Justice Committee, but ultimately took on part of the mission of the Social Justice Committee, right?
Yes, we did have a Social Concerns Committee at our parish, and they kind of dissolved and asked us if we would take on the role of social justice and social concerns in our parish. So we have been doing that since about 2017, and we do that through the home visit process.
Okay. Laura, you're conference coordinator for the areas,
yes,
right? And so do the various individual conferences, do they each kind of having here the kind of relationship with the social concerns and kind of taking on that? Is there just a kind of cookie cutter, or does each one kind of reflect the personality of the parish and the local culture?
I think basically they're all kind of in the same, we follow the same guidelines, we follow the same, but each parish has, you're right, has its own personality, has different needs. What a parish like West Des Moines Sacred Heart compared to Christ the King, the kind of people or clientele that may come and knock at the door, give the phone call to the parish is very different. The needs are the same. People are struggling. It's just a really rough time. Rent, we used to be asked to help pay rent, maybe $800 a month, to catch them up. They missed a month or something. Now we're looking at double or more. And they're having a tough time making ends meet. So any way we can help with
because that
food.
Support during the pandemic has gone away.
Yes.
Yet the rents and everything else and the housing demands is very high.
Yes, it is. And they're, and they need help with rent. They need help with utilities, clothing, food. So we help if we can, however we can. And the parish individually take calls at the parish. Usually the parish office is the typical person to take the call, take the name number, and then they get that number to our person like Theresa if it comes in, and the president or whoever is the contact person for St. Vincent de Paul. We actually have 14 parishes in the Des Moines area that have a St. Vincent de Paul conference. A conference like a committee. Mm-hmm. Conference is a carryover from France when they first started. They used to call it a conference. And so every parish takes those calls. They go meet. They have 2x2. They go visit with a family or person in need, find out what their needs are, and do their best to help them.
Okay, so there is that direct engagement. It's not this kind of anonymous helping, even though you'll receive things. I know at St. Ambrose, the truck is there the last Sunday of the month to receive clothing and other items that are there, but the actual point people, members of the conference, are there in that human encounter that's bringing them the face of Christ, as St. Vincent envisioned.
Yes, and the conferences are the heart of our society. They are the boots on the ground. They're the ones out there working individually with families and people, giving that face-to-face contact, making that friendship that we're here to help you. And obviously, Theresa felt that, way back when, and you feel like they care. And our overall is help us, help others, and now we say help themselves. We want to help them plan for the future as well. So they don't just, we have lots of programming we can get them involved in, help them get a job. You know, we have the immersion program. If they're incarcerated when they get out of prison, we can help them find a place to live. We can help them find a job. And we stick with them for a year to make sure they're doing okay. Our back to work program is a program that we use to help people find jobs, write a resume, financial help, so they learn how to live, how to take care of their lives and do better.
Come back to that in a moment. But Barb, have you experienced that where it's the introduction to a relationship and that there's an ongoing active, friendship in Christ as brothers and sisters?
Yes, we committed to doing home visits in our conference. So when someone calls us for assistance, the first thing we do is set up a home visit. They have to be open to a home visit if they want our help. And the reason we do that is because, first of all, we want to get to know the people. We said we come and we pray with you, we listen to your story, and then we help you physically or financially if needed. And a lot of times they do need financial help, but they also need somebody to listen. And that's, the human contact part of it. We have made friendships with some of the people that we do home visits with. We keep in contact through texting or maybe coffee once in a while. I've gone on a couple home visits where I still keep in touch with the people that we helped.
So I'm going to be a little bit sarcastic here and just kind of maybe to make a point here, but it sounds like beautiful engagement. Do you ever find that people are like, all right, I have to sit through this prayer or this other spiel here if I'm going to get any help here? All right, they're going to give me their old-time religion here in that way. So is there, it's not conditional in any way, but it's just proposing, and then, like you say, there's a lot of listening that goes on, too. We have done home visits that just haven't flourished, I should say. We do help people if they are in desperate need of help, but we also discern through that home visit if there's someone who is in genuine need of help, or there are just people out there that like to try to get money and move on and get money from someone else. So we do that discerning, and that is why we have a home visit, because we want to genuinely help those who need it and want to improve their lives. And I think Ozanam would appreciate that kind of critical mindset, that there's discernment here as well. Ozanam saw this as primarily for the spiritual growth and holiness of the members themselves, but I think I'm hearing a kind of mutuality here that can happen. Is that fair to say, Laurie?
Absolutely. Just growing in friendship and spirituality is equal to serving. That's for our conferences. Those are the three things that everything they do is based on. So if you are grounded in friendship and spirituality, you can serve the poor better, and even better than to reach that same spirituality and friendship out to the people that we meet. Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. And you're collaborating with Andrew Gross, I understand, himself a teacher in many ways to help form that. And, sign me up. But what is the opportunity for people who might be drawn to? We offer Ozanam orientation. Our next one is on January 30th, and it's certainly open to anyone that would like to come. Our members are asked to take that within the first year. We're kind of catching up after COVID. There was a lot of things that didn't happen. And at that, you will learn the history. You will learn why we do what we do. You'll learn a little bit about home visits. We spend a lot of time talking about poverty and spirituality and understanding what generational poverty is, what situational poverty is. We go over that so that you have a understanding of how important it is what you do, but to understand how they got there. If all they know is poverty, you can't just talk them out of it in one-time visit. You need to give them some education, some help, some support, so they know how to change their life, because they don't have the skills. They don't have mentors. They don't have people in their life that are encouraging sometimes to get out of the situation they're in.
Mm-hmm. And I have a sense with Andrew, and perhaps that in your message and formation of people, we have to be alert to the fact that sometimes, with all the noblest of intentions, our acts of charity could actually be disruptive or even deleterious in some way. Is that fair?
Yes. Andrew loves to talk about the book Toxic Charity, and it's a wonderful book, and it teaches us that, the way you help people can be more harmful than helpful. So you need to, understand how to do it best, and making them take ownership of the help and maybe even pay it back, in the future or when they can, or get involved in helping others. There are so many ways that you can change a person's heart to go, I need to make a difference in my life, because sometimes they're just spiraling down and they need a hand up. They need someone to take their hand and give them a little support.
Yeah. So yes, maybe we'll ask you just to pause here. We're going to have a little teaser for our listeners as well, Barb, but we can come back to you here.
Stay with us as we continue our conversation with Barb Chicoine and Laurie Riebe. Barb as the president for St. Theresa, St. Vincent de Paul Conference, and Laurie is the conference coordinator for St. Vincent de Paul in Central Iowa. To find out more about St. Vincent, go to their website, svdpdsm.org. You're listening to Making It Personal with Bishop Joensen on Iowa Catholic Radio and the Spirit Catholic Radio Network.
Support for Iowa Catholic Radio provided by the Sarah Vocations Ministry, including the St. Sarah Club of Des Moines and the Sarah Club of Council Bluffs. Sarah is an apostolate of the Worldwide Catholic Church dedicated to fostering and supporting priesthood and religious vocations. Sarahans strive to accomplish their mission through prayer, fellowship, and service to the bishop, priests, sisters, and all in religious formation, and in doing so to increase their own holiness. Learn more at joinsarah.org, joinserra.org. Thank you, Sarahans, for your support of Iowa Catholic Radio.
The leading Catholic voices are on the largest Catholic media network in Iowa.
Mother Angelica, Father John Trigilio, Marcus Grodi.
You're listening to the Iowa Catholic Radio Network.
Welcome back to Making It Personal with Bishop Joensen.
So, Barb, you were about to share something, your experience.
Yes, I was going to say that when we do home visits, the people that we visit with have more dignity when they have skin in the game. We talk about that in our home visits, and when they actually are a part of getting themselves out of the position they're in and improving their lives, it just makes them feel better about what's happening, and they feel like they're not receiving charity. Another book that Andrew talked me into reading was called When Helping Hurts. And that really put a spin on things for me to see that people need to have skin in the game to, make their lives better. We give them a hand up, not a handout.
Mm-hmm.
Because you've made reference in other conversation that sometimes maybe people are scamming you, and you begin to know that those who aren't interested in a sacrificial dimension, that'd be kind of a telltale sign.
Right, yeah, they don't have any interest in skin in the game.
Okay. But not exactly a pound of flesh, but all right, here we go. Right. So Laurie, we talked about those who might be coming out of incarceration, the formative programs, and other opportunities here, because not everyone knows what's going on with St. Vincent, not even within the Catholic communities.
Absolutely. St. Vincent de Paul has so many opportunities for you, the public, everyone to get involved. We have our 14 parishes that have conferences. You can get involved and volunteer there. We have our immersion program for the incarcerated. That program is growing by leaps and bounds. They are reaching out. They are actually going to have a presence in the prisons themselves. They meet with people getting out, and then they work with them, helping them find work, food, get a place to live, so they really can.
So you've been given access to prisons. That warms my heart as a shepherd and bishop.
Absolutely. They work with the jails, the prison, and they are just, Randy is doing a phenomenal job. She's at our Army Post Road location. Then we have the Back to Work program that I mentioned. That's where folks can come in, show an interest in getting ahead, changing their life, and they can take classes. They can sign up. I heard yesterday at our breakfast they have 90% graduation that finished the program, and I think that same 90% that are employed. So we're doing a wonderful job. And I think,
and you've got the technology and everything available to them, right?
We do.
Which is essential to get.
Thanks to Andrew Gross, he started the education center on the second floor of 6th Avenue store, and then we have the 73rd Street store. So we have thrift stores. People can donate their items, anything that gently used, things they don't need anymore, furniture, clothing. They can donate items to the food pantry. I don't think people know in Des Moines that you can call and have the truck come and pick up your donations, too. They'll pick up. They have a schedule. They will do their best they can to get to you in the next week or two. We have food pantries. We have 2 food pantries that people can come in. It is by appointment, but they do help people that sometimes randomly stop in, but they like to have appointments so they can.
And that's at the 6th Avenue and the
Army Post Road. Yes, the 73rd Street is a thrift store. Wonderful, beautiful place. If you love to find a good bargain, it's a wonderful place to go, like I do. And there's a Christmas store dedicated to all Christmas items. It's absolutely beautiful. So there are so many ways that you can help support. You can volunteer at our food pantries. You can volunteer in our thrift stores. I love home decor, going through those donations and pricing them and getting them ready to put out on the shelf. It's a very valuable and needed volunteer opportunity for us because we can't get enough volunteers. We need more at all our stores, especially 6th Ave.
And, in this, obviously there are folks who maybe are retired or others, but people of all ages and confirmation candidates could find opportunities to plug in and to volunteer? Absolutely.
All they have to call and set up an appointment to come in and go through our quick little volunteer training, and they can come in then anytime they want. We have people that come in daily. We have people that come in weekly. We have groups that come in monthly. So there's lots of ways to volunteer.
Call. I want to help.
That's right. Absolutely.
Yeah. Well, thank you for shining a light on St. Vincent de Paul and all the remarkable work in this centennial year. May God continue to bless and multiply all that you do. Laurie and Barb, thank you so much.
Thank you for inviting us.
Well, this has been another edition of Making It Personal with Bishop Joensen. Thank you to our guests and to all of our listeners in Iowa, Nebraska, Wisconsin, or wherever you may be listening to Iowa Catholic Radio and the Spirit Catholic Radio Network.
You can hear Making It Personal with Bishop William Joensen every week on Iowa Catholic Radio and iowacatholicradio.com.
Support for Iowa Catholic Radio and Making It Personal is provided by Sarah Vocations Ministry. Learn more at joinserra.org.